Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 274, The Invisible Drain of Digital Clutter, and how to create a calm digital workspace. This episode is definitely for those of us who thrive in quieter, more thoughtful and enriching spaces. So let me put my cards on the table from the outset. However much we like to lose ourselves in social media and the online world, it's not a good use of our time, nor is it in any way good for our mental health. There, I said it. Which probably means that the reach of this episode will be severely curtailed, but this topic needs airing, so I'll proudly continue with my message. And let's face it, avoiding the overwhelm of digital spaces, including social media, doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. I'll first focus on social media, and that's because the algorithms are carefully and scientifically designed to hook us in and keep us there. Social media is not our friend, and we're deluded if we think it is. Social media is a toxic companion, a smiling assassin that little by little controls what we see and potentially how we feel. And then there is the digital workspace, and with the increasing use of AI, which it seems is being forced upon us rather than letting us opt in or better still opt out, and to that we can add the unreasonable expectation to be always on, both of which are leading us in the same direction. And whilst AI may be helpful in some instances, we have to question the impact it has on our ability to think critically, which is one of the essential leadership skills. So in this episode, I'll be sharing how to regain a semblance of control in the digital space, both social and workplace. Now, whilst this podcast is predominantly for introverts and their allies, the problem of digital clutter affects us all. It has no respect for age, gender, personality, or ethnicity. But it's a sneaky little sucker. It builds up slowly, wooing us with its powers of seduction until we're knee-deep in fatigue, frustration, and fragmented focus. Then it only takes one simple notification alert to tip us over the edge. The problem is exacerbated when our fatigue and fragmented focus results in having too many tabs open, both mental and physical, hundreds of emails across a plethora of inboxes, low-level guilt at not being on top of things, endless scrolling for light relief and a hit of dopamine, performing mental gymnastics, hoping the mask of control will preserve our reputation. It really is exhausting, and it doesn't have to be this way. So what's at the heart of the problem? After all, you know I'm not one for quick fix sticking plaster solutions. Problems are solved when we address the root cause, not the presenting issue. I suggest you buckle up, as you're probably not going to like what I have to say next. Ready? It's your boundaries, or lack thereof, that are the root of the problem. Sure, you can point to a toxic workplace culture, a demanding boss, or the state of the job market, but those are typically confounding factors, not the root cause. And I know that's easy for me to say, but when you've worked with as many clients as I have, the pattern is unmistakable. Weak or absent boundaries mean we're controlled by the email notification alert, the Slack pings, or the random Teams meeting invites. Every one of these digital notifications interrupts your flow and focus, pulling you in ever disparate directions. Of course, in isolation, each one of these seems innocuous enough, but as a collective, they are massively intrusive. And yet, we're also strangely addicted to them. Suggest that someone turn off their email notification envelope and then check them at predetermined times, and you'd think I'd suggested they poison their granny. More on possible solutions that keep granny safe a little later on. The reality is that the noise becomes clutter and the clutter becomes stressful. Enter overwhelm and a clear route to burnout. If you'd like to hear more about that, tune into episode 264 next. My brilliant team will make sure the link is in the description of this episode. We need to take this impact seriously, and I'll make no bones about it. The toll of a cluttered digital life is painfully real. As a result, you may feel any or all of these, constantly behind and having to play catch up, distracted to the point of fight, flight, freeze or fawn, and unsettled without being able to explain why. As these feelings increase, it becomes more and more difficult to drop into your flow state and be really productive. And there's the vicious circle. You become more anxious as the to-do list grows exponentially, and the unanswered emails pile up, and the family messages remain unread. So as I said at the start of this episode, the way to avoid overwhelm in the digital space is by intention. So let's get strategically intentional right now. The addictive nature of our digital realms robs us of the rightful sense of control. So now is the time to take that control back. And before you try to fob me and yourself off about not having any control, think again. It's true to say that we all have more control than we believe or exercise, but we do need to get real about it. Being delusional or resigned when it comes to control are equally as bad as one another. On the one hand, you might think you're invincible and all-powerful. On the other, powerless and helpless. When it comes to our digital landscape, we are neither of these things. In fact, just recently, one of my team members and I had a necessary conversation about how we work together in order to honour each other's boundaries and preferences. Because of our different time zones, we work asynchronously, which suits us both really well. She had been nervous about posting at odd times of the day and night, as occasionally I would respond fairly quickly. She'd become worried that she'd woken me up until I told her that my phone is always on silent and my notifications are always off. So if I had responded, it was because I happened to be working at the same moment on the same item. It was merely a coincidence, not a disruption. Our conversation means that neither of us are now holding back or worried that we're disrupting each other or creating unnecessary clutter. So having shared one of the things that I've done recently, are you ready for some actionable steps? Okay. All of these will help you to install and uphold strategic boundaries that will benefit all aspects of your health. Number 1, use the circles of control, influence and concern to work out where your power really lies. And be honest. Work with a coach, mentor or buddy on this, someone who won't collude with your powerlessness or invincibility. Number 2, curate and declutter your digital space as you would your physical space. Messy kitchens or disorganised desks are not conducive to great work. Create logical folders, archive, delete, unfollow, apply rules and unsubscribe. You'll be surprised at how quickly that puts a dent in your inbox. Number 3, create and document workflows or processes that work for you and enable you to feel more in control. This can take a bit of time, so my suggestion is to spend some time over a series of mornings before you get caught up in the busyness of the day. In the longer term, this will be time very well spent, and you'll thank me for this suggestion. Number 4, transform the visual field of your workspace into a calming, pleasing vista. I understand that you might not have the pick of the corner or window desk, but there are still things that we can do. For we introverts needing to reduce stimulation, this might include muted colours, soft lighting, and a sense of spaciousness. Number 5, turn off non-essential notifications and be really honest about which ones are essential. We like to think everything is urgent and important, but that's rarely true. I think we do that because it gives us a sense of importance and that we have value to add. Really productive people check their emails about 3 times a day and deal with them in chunks of focused time. So be ruthless with those non-essential ones, and I promise your granny won't leave this mortal coil as a result. Number 6, this next one might be a bit tough for some of we introverts, but here it is anyway. Please don't automatically default to using email or messaging apps to get answers from people. Yes, I know we're not supposed to like voice communications, but it's honestly so much quicker than the to and fro of emails or texts. But, and this is important, send an email to confirm decisions or important actions once agreed. That audit trail is important, but as a follow-up, not as the whole communication. Number 7, finally, communicate your new ways of working to your team members, manager, clients, and to your wider network. People who have become used to you being at their beck and call, responding immediately, will need to be weaned off their unproductive expectations. This is the final crucial piece of your new strategic boundaries. And there's one more buckle up moment coming here. Inform rather than ask permission, and have your rationale ready to explain. This is part of the authentic assertiveness approach I work with my clients on during their frustrated to flourishing journey. But because I sometimes run this as a standalone short course, drop an email to my team on quietly@flourishingintroverts.com if you want to be added to the wait list. Let me summarise this episode by reminding you that you deserve an online environment that restores rather than depletes you, just like you need in your offline life. That's because your surroundings, including the virtual one, impact your ability to focus, create and thrive. This is not about assumed perfection, it's about intention. So I strongly recommend you begin to audit your digital space today and stick with it so you identify the subtle and not so subtle ways you're allowing your serenity and productivity to be stolen. This isn't about digital perfection, not at all. It's about intentional living in a world that thrives on distraction. And small changes make a big difference. Once you've witnessed the theft and seen the drain, you can't unsee it. And that's your cue to take action. Because the truth is, your digital space should serve you, not sabotage you. So, take a breath, reclaim your serenity, and most importantly, assert your boundaries like your well-being depends on it. Because it does. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
You are listening to an Intentional Media Production podcast.